The political problem is, how do we grow the economy of the United States? How do we deliver prosperity to our people? And how do we overcome a deficit? And all that while maintaining global leadership. So everyone, every institution, every investor, every company, every politician is struggling with these problems today. Bitcoin's the solution. Why is it the solution? Is it the solution? A lot of people are wondering that. I'll put the Bitcoin return for the last 4 years on this chart I just showed you, and you can see Bitcoin is just punching a hole in all the traditional capital markets.
Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, has made a bold prediction. Bitcoin's value could soar to an astonishing $13 million per coin by 2045, signaling that the best days for this revolutionary digital asset are yet to come. Backing his conviction with action, MicroStrategy has accumulated an impressive $7.5 billion worth of Bitcoin since 2020, establishing itself as one of the largest institutional holders of this digital gold. Saylor's unwavering strategy is clear and relentless: buy Bitcoin regardless of market conditions. With expectations of Bitcoin's value increasing tenfold, he envisions a future where Bitcoin not only dominates global finance but redefines the concept of wealth creation itself. Currently, Bitcoin is breaking records, having surged past the $90,000 mark and racing toward an unprecedented $100,000 milestone. This is uncharted territory, a historic moment where Bitcoin transcends being just a currency or asset to becoming a global phenomenon. The world watches as Bitcoin converts skeptics into believers, proving it is truly unstoppable.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
The political problem is, how do we grow the economy of the United States? How do we deliver prosperity to our people? And how do we overcome a deficit? And all that while maintaining global leadership. So everyone, every institution, every investor, every company, every politician is struggling with these problems today. Bitcoin's the solution. Why is it the solution? Is it the solution? A lot of people are wondering that. I'll put the Bitcoin return for the last 4 years on this chart I just showed you, and you can see Bitcoin is just punching a hole in all the traditional capital markets. This isn't 1 year or 2 years. This is 4 years, but you know, it happens to be the 4 years since MicroStrategy decided Bitcoin was the solution. And you might say, well, you cherry-picked that number. That's the low number. I cherry-picked that number because the other numbers are better, and I'll show you that in a second. If we look at this entire set of asset classes, they line up kind of elegantly. If you're actually holding bonds for the last 4 years, you lost 5% of your capital a year. They're losers. Every bank in the U.S. is capitalized on bonds. Every operating company is capitalized on bonds. You wonder why the banks are sick? You wonder why the operating companies are sick? They're sitting on those minus 5% instruments, and that's their best idea. Gold's plus 6%. You might as well just hold gold. Real estate's plus 10%. The S&P's 15%. You can double it with the Magnificent Seven. Find the best companies in the S&P, the NVIDIAs, the Apples, the Googles. 29%. And this little creature we call Bitcoin is doubling that, 60%. And when you look at that chart, a lot of things become pretty clear. But this is the past 14 years. Bitcoin's not just winning. I mean, it's up 78% in 8 years. It's up 103% in 12 years. It's up 168% in 14 years. It's consistently winning, and at some point, if you look at the numbers, you start to wonder, well, why is it winning, and is this a fluke? And the irony, of course, is that you still get questions from the normies every day, like, well, when does the run stop? When do nuclear reactors stop producing more electricity than water wheels? When does the airplane stop flying faster than the donkey cart? The answer is it's not going to stop because it's structural and technical. Everyone in the world is searching for an asset uncorrelated to the S&P 500 with higher returns. Uncorrelated and performing. It's the holy grail. Banks have conferences on this stuff. Well, Bitcoin is that asset. It's an asset without the counterparty risk that comes from competitors, countries, corporations, creditors, cultures, or currencies. Everything else you own in your life has a counterparty risk to one of those items, except Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, in essence, orthogonal to the rest of the market. That makes it alpha. But you don't have to believe it from first principles. You don't have to study it. You can just look at the data. This is Fidelity data. It's showing the lack of correlation and the Sharpe ratio. It's got the highest Sharpe ratio. It's got the lowest correlation. So even if you haven't read the book, The Bitcoin Standard, even if you haven't thought about it for 100 hours or 1,000 hours or 10 hours, all you have to do is just run the numbers. The market is screaming at you that it's an uncorrelated, high-performing asset. But to truly understand it, you have to go back to first principles. And this is my alma mater, MIT, and this is where I was taught to think from first principles, and they taught you how to build things that had never been built before and solve problems that had never been solved before. And it was an epiphany that you're actually expected and capable of solving problems no human being on the face of the earth has ever solved before. I mean, Elon Musk keeps pointing this out and proving it, and that's why he's the richest man in the world. The capital markets are full of people doing the same thing over and over again the same way.
Bitcoin is more than just a misunderstood digital asset. It's a revolutionary tool for long-term capital preservation, as Michael Saylor passionately explains. Unlike traditional financial or physical assets that are susceptible to instability, taxation, or destruction, Bitcoin offers unparalleled security and resilience. Its decentralized architecture removes the need for intermediaries, creating a robust fortress of value in a world where economic instability costs an estimated $10 trillion annually. With its fixed supply of only 21 million coins, Bitcoin's scarcity paves the way for exponential growth, redefining how wealth is protected and multiplied. Saylor highlights that Bitcoin isn't merely digital money, it's digital wealth, combining the strengths of financial and physical assets while avoiding their vulnerabilities. As Bitcoin soars beyond $90,000 and inches closer to the $100,000 mark, it's reshaping the $450 trillion global capital market. This isn't just a milestone. It's a transformation showcasing Bitcoin's unparalleled ability to preserve and grow wealth in ways the world has never experienced before. Let's return to the discussion and dive into more insights from the video.
Next time you hear someone say, well, what's the Bitcoin use case? There's no use case. The use case is the most valuable thing in the entire human race. It's $450 trillion. It's all the capital in the world. The use case is you get to keep your money, right? That's actually the epiphany. Once you understand that people are using assets for two reasons, long-term capital preservation, or the second reason is utility. Your yacht, your jet, your bakery, your farm, your ranch, your plane, company, that's utility value. Your piece of art you put on the wall, it's utility. Half this stuff is for utility, the other half is capital preservation. And the challenge with preserving capital is you either do it with financial assets, and they degrade over time due to entropy. Everything you invest in is subject to weather and war and tax and inheritance and income and excise. And these are the risk factors in every 10K. They degrade the capital. And so people that want to get away from financial assets, they buy land and they buy buildings and they buy physical items. But entropy degrades them too. There's a hurricane coming, in Florida right now. It's going to hit in the next few days. You can't buy hurricane insurance. You're just living with this chaos in the real world. And of course, I could talk about the litany of ways that your physical capital breaks down, but you all know it. What's the cost of entropy? What's the cost of chaos, confusion, and competition, inflation, politics, and war? Well, the cost is like 3% of $450 trillion. The cost is $15 trillion a year. It's trillions of dollars a year. Someone says, well, what's the use case of Bitcoin? It's like, well, we're not going to lose 10 trillion a year. Like, you get to keep the 10 trillion, right? That's what's driving people to Bitcoin. When you live in a world without Bitcoin, and you live in a world of capital assets that are physical and financial, you see your useful life is 10, 20, 30 years. If you buy a Ferrari or a yacht, you're probably not going to preserve your capital. But most people buy 10, 20, 30-year useful life assets, and they struggle and worry about them. How many people worry about their stocks every day? Worry about their building, worry about their business, worry about currencies, worry about bonds. There's an entire industry of worry. That's a constant struggle. This guy, Satoshi, came along and discovered a method to transfer value without a trusted intermediary. And everybody repeats it ad infinitum. Satoshi figured out how to send something of value between two people without an intermediary. But that wasn't the brilliant idea. The idea that's so profound it shakes the foundation of the economy is that Satoshi figured out a method to store value without a trusted intermediary. Because sending the value, it's like a little bit better than Visa or the Fed wire. Storing the value, well, that makes it the most useful thing for $450 trillion of capital. That's worth $10 trillion a year. That's the big idea. And it's a very poorly understood idea. Bitcoin represents the transformation of our capital from financial and physical assets to digital. What we've created is an asset without financial risk that's in a currency or a stock, and without physical risk that's in real estate or property. And that makes it digital capital. Not digital currency, digital capital. Everyone that's a hater, everyone that's skeptic, like, oh, it's a digital currency, it won't work. Well, that's because you decided to define it as the wrong thing. Yes, it's not a currency, it's capital. Once you understand it as capital, you realize that you ought to compare it to a $100 million building in Miami and think about the benefits of owning a building versus owning a digital building.
Michael Saylor emphasizes Bitcoin's unique advantages, describing it as digital capital that surpasses traditional investments across the globe. Unlike real estate or physical assets, Bitcoin is an indestructible, tax-free, and hassle-free store of value. Its decentralized nature addresses the global challenge of capital preservation, making it the ideal investment even in regions like Africa, Russia, or China. Saylor views Bitcoin as a 1,000-year asset, supported by immense computational power equivalent to 18 nuclear reactors and backed by $850 billion in real capital. Dominating the crypto market with over 420 million advocates and 220 million holders, Bitcoin is becoming a cornerstone of institutional portfolios, with its market capitalization surpassing Saudi Aramco and allocations in 60/40 portfolios expected to rise significantly. As CEO of MicroStrategy, Saylor has implemented a bold strategy: buy and hold Bitcoin while leveraging fixed-income products to acquire even more. This approach has generated extraordinary results, with the company's Bitcoin holdings increasing by $135 billion, including a $3.50, $4 billion gain in just 5 days. Saylor predicts that Bitcoin will play a leading role in the future of global finance, as technological advancements, AI, and innovative firms emerge over the next 2 decades. He forecasts that Bitcoin's price will reach $13 million per coin by 2045, driven by a 29% annual growth rate, and believes gold will be demonetized while the global money supply expands at a 7% rate. Saylor's conviction in Bitcoin remains firm. Every Bitcoin not purchased today could cost $13 million in the future. He argues that Bitcoin is the ultimate store of value, outperforming traditional assets like real estate and stock. With its potential to reshape the $450 trillion global capital market, Saylor envisions Bitcoin redefining wealth creation for generations. Would you consider investing in Bitcoin based on its transformative potential, or do you still favor traditional assets? Share your thoughts below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.